Hey everyone and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors. And today we're here with Evan Mestman. And he has an amazing company called ProAttitudes. I like that simply because a positive attitude is important, but I don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to tell us what that
Absolutely.
means. How you doing, Evan?
Great. Thanks for having me, Mark. Really
Hey, I'm
appreciate it.
so glad. I'm excited to chat with you today. We've talked a little bit before. Obviously, we got on a podcast and said, hey, let's do this together. So it was a lot of fun. I know people are going to enjoy this. I tend to talk too much. So I'm going to stop right now and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. First things first, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. My name's Evan Mestman, and I am a health, wellness, and mindset coach. I'm the owner and CEO of ProAttitudes. And really what we do is we really optimize people's lives one choice at a time. And it's something that it's been something of a passion project for me to come back to this after what's happened, in 2020. I mean, everybody had some major challenges, but I had that opportunity where I was unemployed with COVID, and I had some soul searching to do. And I decided to come back to what I was doing over 25 years ago.
Wow.
And that was being, and I wasn't a health and wellness coach, I was a nutritionist. I went to school for my master's in clinical nutrition, and I became a diabetes educator. I worked in nutrition support. I worked as a dietitian in the hospital in critical care, but right
Wow.
across the street was a hospital. I mean, I'm sorry, across the street from the hospital was a gym. And I'm like, well, what a great opportunity. There's going to be a lot of people there that want to learn nutrition. So I walked in and I said, hey, to the manager, what about if I gave everybody in your facility a complimentary nutrition assessment, and I use that little fishbowl you have upstairs that's empty for an office? And he said, sure. And that's how my private practice got started.
Wow. How long ago was that, you said?
1990.
Okay.
A long time ago.
That's a long
Yeah.
time ago. Okay. And then you said you stopped that for a little bit, went
Well,
corporate.
what happened was I was doing really well with private practice and working so much that I decided to wean myself off of working in the hospital. But I started originally, my parents were very much into holistic medicine. My father was a dentist. We call him the tooth chiropractor because he was so into the holistic medicine. My sister is a chiropractor. But they ended up like taking all these supplements. They had a closet full from the floor to the ceiling of vitamins and supplements they're popping.
Wow.
And it just didn't feel right. So I said, I want to learn the why of nutrition. I don't think that we were designed, by whoever designed us, that we were meant to take all these supplements, regardless of our food supply, all the challenges we have with pollution. And so I went to school to learn that. And that's been my journey and my quest, is to figure out why. And so when I started with my private practice, that was really my quest, was to help people figure out, well, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you jumping on that treadmill or that bike or that elliptical for a year, sweating for an hour, hour and a half, and you have the same body shape that you had when you started, but you're killing yourself, right? They're not seeing the results. And then I would go, and I had offices in doctors' offices, and I had offices in different facilities right around. I was an entrepreneur. And I also started doing wellness programs to help figure out people's why when it came to cholesterol or diabetes, when it came to their high blood sugars, or when it came to in corporations. I went and I did wellness programs at SD Lauder and Turner Broadcasting and ADP, where I go in and I do my program and teach them the why of, why is it that you do what you do, and how can you fix this so that you can be more optimistic? Because people, you go on a diet, it's either you're on or off. But from a business perspective, because I was doing well with this, I got recruited by a wellness company that was delivering its product via the internet, and it was a startup. So what ended up happening, long story short, we spent way too much money up front. They went to go for an IPO on September 11th, 2001 in Cantor Fitzgerald. Luckily, our appointment was at 11 o'clock, and Cantor Fitzgerald did not exist at that time. And we went bankrupt.
Wow.
So, that's like that aha moment, a great learning lesson. I mean, I had a great run with this company, not just being a nutritionist, but working in so many different business aspects, from writing and developing and managing 20 consultants to develop the wellness product. But I had to put my tail between my legs because, I needed to make some money. I needed to make a living.
Gotta eat. Even the wellness guys gotta eat.
I had worked for a full year for founder shares, and 500,000 founder shares is still zero if it doesn't have any value. So it was going back to private practice, or saying, you know what? I loved what corporations afforded me the opportunity to do. I had systems that were backing me up. I had structure. You had HR. You had the training and development, because a lot of it was all self-learned. Back then, I went to school for nutrition. I didn't go to school for business.
So many of us, right?
Yeah. So I learned, and I started in sales, and then I worked my way up into management, and then I went up to leadership through 3 large multi-billion-dollar global companies, and had a great run. And part of it was being regional managers, understanding dealing with 25-26 million dollar territories. And then my last position, I was a national clinical manager for a very large company, where I had the whole country, and I was building a clinical team for them, so they saw the value of clinical sales, of how that can actually accelerate the sales cycle for a medical device company. Long story short, leaderships change. You get 5 leadership changes in 4 years. Collateral damage worked out just fine, because it was a blessing in disguise. And then COVID hit, and it gave me an opportunity to say, what do I really want to do? What do I love to do? And so I actually, when I was cleaning out my attic, I found all my boxes, and literally going into those boxes, looked at it and went, I can't believe I actually did this. This is amazing. I've got to go back. This is being wasted. And that's what I did. I decided to start the business in July, but I started it from a business perspective rather than just a passion project. I said, what do I need to do to be successful from day one?
Right. I like that. And I want to just stop for a moment right there for a second, because you made something interesting. You made an interesting statement. You kind of were, I'm not going to say downsides, but reallocated because of leadership. But at that moment, you said, I'm going to take the leap again to business ownership. So it's almost like, if I got it right, you took something that could have been negative and turned it into a positive.
I'm a gardener. So, you take the poop and you make manure, right? And that's the, right? Or you take lemons and you make lemonade.
I'm a sipper, so I'm going to take the lemon and lemonade. No, I'm not going to take the pool.
That's black gold is, what we do in gardening is you got to be able to recycle things. So sometimes when the things happen, it's not good or bad. It's how you look at it and how you take it as an opportunity. And that's one of the reasons why my tagline here is cultivating optimism, because I always could see the silver lining.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That makes a lot of sense. And cultivating optimism, ProAttitude. I knew it was all going to come together for me. Thank you. Before I get lost, and we started chatting already, but I like to do a little bit of what I call bookkeeping. I started out as accounting. So bookkeeping. Do you have a website, sir? How can we reach you?
I do. So ProAttitudes is www.proattitudes.com. And although there is one other company that has that name, my son said, you shouldn't use that name. I started my business 30 years ago as Appetite and Attitudes, but nobody can spell that. So I said, yes, put together. So I really love the idea of proactive is a big part of what I do, being proactive versus reactive. So putting the two words together just made perfect sense for me. So it's proattitudes.com is my website.
Okay. And attitudes can be hard to spell. So I'm going to ask you to spell it out because we're looking at it. I'm fortunate. I'm reading
Yes,
it.
it's there, but it's right. If we're on a podcast,
If
it's
we're on
ProAttitudes.com. And that's
beautiful.
no spaces. And remember
Awesome.
the S at the end because that's important.
Absolutely. Nice. And if we want to reach you by phone, is that something that you do with your clients?
Sure. But when they go to my website, I really like to use Zoom because I think that Zoom has been an incredible tool. It's a lot easier to work with people face to face.
Absolutely. I
I think
agree.
people appreciate it too. So they can call me. It's 516-639-3605 or text me 516-639-3605. But they can go on my website and just click to set up a complimentary appointment that automatically logs them into Zoom. It shows them my calendar. So it works what best time for them.
I love it. I love it. And I'm a big proponent of these Zoom meetings because you get to, you know, to hear things is valuable. Obviously, no one wants to be deaf, right? But to see things and hear, to see faces, to see expressions, you can kind of tell a little bit better, at least in my opinion, if you're making the right impact. You know, sometimes I'm yammering so much, and if I'm looking at you, I can say, I'm not making sense, am I? Yeah. But if I can't see you, then I'm thinking I'm just great. So I love the Zoom platform. I love it.
Absolutely. And I built my whole program on it. I was actually, when I was considering going back to work in medical devices, I was working with a career coach. And this was just before COVID hit. And she did her whole platform via Zoom.
Mm.
And that planted the seed for my idea for my company because I thought of it at the time saying, well, if I had this technology 20 years ago, I never would have went into corporate America. It would have given me the tools that I needed to make it so easy. And she knew it. And when she interviewed me, she had planted the seed, and she's the one that helped me. Kara Heilman, she's a pretty amazing career coach out in San Francisco.
Nice, very nice. So you talked to us already about what made you decide on your specific business, and you talked to us about how you took that leap, which is really, really incredible. You've been in business, you said, since
July.
when? July. And you picked a very interesting time to actually launch, right? I
Oh,
think
yeah.
in July, were we in the heat or the heart of the spike?
I think what I call, we were in the deepest part of the hole that we had fallen
Okay.
into, the
Okay.
deepest
Okay.
despair. A lot of people were there because they said, well, a lot of people were in denial. But when you look at the summer was coming, it was coming forward and the fall was going to come, and people just didn't know what was going to happen. But to me, I always looked what was right in front of me. Where were the opportunities? And it was either, do I want to go back to corporate America, where I'm a big Simon Sinek fan, where I think people should always come before profits. He wrote Finding Your Why, Leaders Eat Last, and The Infinite Game. And I'm a big proponent of his principles and I was very much like Simon Sinek. 30 years ago, I was searching for people's why, and the core of anything you do in life should be around your why, even marketing and in business. And the challenge is, how do you find your why? And it's really about, you have to put your attention on your intention. But you start with,
one more time. Say that one more time. When I hear something amazing, I like to repeat it. Say it again.
you have to put your attention on your intention. So like right now, you're sitting in your chair, but you're not having any kind of awareness about your feet, but I just mentioned them. So now, you're thinking about your feet, you feel your toes. I just gave you attention on the intention of thinking about your feet. Well, first you have to increase awareness. That's the first step. People don't realize they just want to go on a diet. They want to take a break from everything, right? They want to lose weight, or they want to get in shape, or they want to take charge of their lives. They want to be more productive at work. all of those things, or have more purpose, all of those things, a lot of times what people will do is they'll say, okay, I'm going to take a break from what I'm doing. And it's not about taking a break, because it's like that roller coaster ride. When people go on that roller coaster, you're up, down. Before you know it, you're like, I got to get off this ride. It's making me crazy. This is your life we're talking about. So part of it is that you need to focus on awareness. What is truly what's going wrong with you? What is going well with you? And that's about being a fly on the wall. Just pretend that you're a fly on the wall. Be a witness to what you're thinking, what you're doing. And then think about what your intention is. Begin with what you truly have a vision for. What's important to you? What's your why? And I take people through this in my program, so that then once we have a why, once you have your intention, then it's about just learning within that narrow focus. What do I need to learn? What don't I know what to do? And then we focus on what don't I know how to do? So that's skill and ability. And then we build that skill set and you practice it daily. And before you know it, you've changed, you're living the new lifestyle with purpose and intention, and becoming the person you've always dreamed of being.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to pivot us a little bit and just chat about success. You've experienced success multiple times in your, I'm going to say, your secular life, right? So how do you define success?
That's a great question. I think when you take care of others and you take care of everyone around you, no matter what, you put them first. I believe in, servant's heart type of leadership, that success always follows. That's my definition of success.
Okay, very nice. So do you think, or do you consider yourself, your business, I mean, it's still in this fledgling state, but do you consider it successful thus far?
Absolutely. But don't define it by the dollars and cents. What I do is, I just did a video today on LinkedIn about setting goals. It needs to be that you have a vision of where you want to go. Mm-hmm. So you see out there and you go, well, this is what I want to do. But you got to look behind you and say, well, look how far you've come. Because a lot of people look out and they think about how far, like that mountain in my background, that's a pretty steep mountain to climb. I'm like, wow, that's going to be like a lot of work. Well, then you just focus on what's right in front of you. First 3 steps. And so it's about setting goals. So I have, from the very beginning, I knew what my strengths and my weaknesses were as a manager, a leader, and a writer, a counselor. I mean, you're a chief bottle washer, right? As a CEO and founder, I'm a solopreneur. But I said I needed to find who I needed to help me. So I started right from the beginning with a business coach. Nice. I found myself a business coach and I told them from the beginning, this is my goal. This is what I'm looking to do. And I want it to be scalable. And I got to revenue in 60 days. So I got proof of concept and to revenue within 60 days, which was a huge, milestone for me. And now it's about scaling it. It's processes, building the processes, because everything that I do, I've been doing for so long. It's easy, it's natural. People don't realize what happens behind the scenes. That's what makes something successful. So it's about just being focused on what's right in front of you. Focus on the things that need to be taken care of, not what other people are doing. I mean, success too, to me, is how do I improve myself? I'm not in competition with anybody but myself from yesterday. I just want to be 1% better than yesterday.
I like that. I want to, you notice that I look down a lot. I write, not in competition with anyone else but myself since yesterday. I like that because you can beat that person yesterday with just a little bit more effort today, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not something that's unattainable. I love that mindset, a little bit better than you were yesterday.
One choice at a time. I mean, that's the whole idea. Can you make one choice? Can you focus on just one choice? I make it so simple and so easy in my program when I coach people. And I work in a group setting, and I also work one-on-one, and we have a community so that people realize that you need support. We're social animals. We're not meant, COVID has really made that very apparent. But it's fascinating that with COVID, I've now met more people around the world than I ever met before. because of technology. So yeah, I can't shake your hand. I can't hug you. Okay. But it's amazing. We can literally almost break bread together, and
Yes,
share ideas and inspire each other. So that's what I love
absolutely.
about what's going on now. And I think that's what we need to do. More people need to connect more and realize that the biggest challenge I had, my biggest mistakes that I had when I was in business was asking for help and thinking, I should know better. So you need to know when, and I knew from the right beginning, I said right from the very beginning, I'm going to ask. I'm going to find the people that
Wow.
are going to be strong for me, because that to me takes humility. You got to be humble,
Absolutely.
right? But it also it takes courage to bring. And I brought people, and I've made mistakes. I mean, that's mistakes are for learning. If you don't make mistakes, if you can't, as an entrepreneur, you have to. Small business owner, if you don't make mistakes, you don't grow. And when you don't grow, you're stuck.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I don't want. So I'm
Love it.
constantly learning and growing and making mistakes,
I
but
love it.
it's fun.
I love it. I was just interviewing another young lady today, and she said, and she works as a business coach too. I have a few, obviously, that vertical is pretty interesting because I know a lot of coaches. I am a coach, so we kind of chat a lot, right? So she said, if I meet a business owner who says he never made a mistake, I don't trust him. I said,
Yeah.
well, either that or he started yesterday. Because maybe you didn't make a mistake in day one, but guess what? By week one, mistakes are going to happen. The challenge, the important thing is to recognize it and learn from it, like you said. So let me ask you this question, if you don't mind. What is one big mistake that you made in your business journey?
I would tell you that one that I mentioned to you before, when I again, you can call it a mistake, right? But it was an incredible learning lesson. Partnering with a company and seeing the writing on the wall with the leadership 20 some years ago, knowing that the CEO was doing this for money. I wasn't. It was a passion project for me. I took my nutrition program that I had created and said, we can put this and take it from analog to digital. And I did. But his motivation was money. And that really is not the place to be. Yes, we all want to make profit, but not if that's your motivation, you're never going to succeed. Money will be a result of loving what you do. And that's having the passion, finding your passion. And yeah, there's grunt work you got to do. There's the challenging work that you have to do. There's the tasks that you go, hey, I'm in sales right now. I love sales, but prospecting isn't something I love doing. I love talking to people, but you have to kick yourself in the butt sometimes to spend those 2 hours every day prospecting and have a process for it and have the goals of saying it's about how do you get to revenue? How do you turn the lead into a meeting? How do you turn that introduction meeting into a discovery? How do you turn that discovery meeting into a contract and close? And then how do you take care of that customer so that they could leave, but they never would want to because they love and value what you're providing? That's part of what
Wow.
it's all about.
Wow. So I asked you about your big mistake. You clarified that. It sounds like you aligning yourself with someone who didn't share your same vision, but
Or
then you just
values.
dropped this
Yeah.
value. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, right? But then you
But it
just
was a
dropped
great
this other.
learning experience. But I've
Mhm.
learned to disassociate with those people now, because I know that I'm going to be going down a rabbit hole. Or I've now come. You can say I started my business in July, but I started with experience. So I said, okay,
Yes.
I
Yes.
found somebody who has a passion for what I do. I met her through an online course that I was taking to better myself in project management. It's through SUNY Stony Brook up here in New York, on the island, and she became part of my cohort. And in the beginning, in the first cohort, I didn't charge for it. I wanted to make sure it had a proof of concept. And she loved what I did and loved what I was doing so much that she's come and worked with me out of the goodness of her heart, believing in my product, but knowing I'm going to get to where my 2-year, 3-year plan is. She's seen that I've worked with her on my business plan, but those kinds of people are not easy to find, and
True.
they're worth their weight in gold. And I did the same thing with my business coach, found somebody who has incredible principles, incredible values, and is so talented. And that to me makes all the difference in the world.
That's awesome. And that's kind of what I was going to alluding to, right? You dropped this mistake, but then you talked about how you've learned from it, and you learned this amazing lesson to align yourself with the right people. And so, as an owner, sometimes business owners, especially, and you said you started your second iteration of business with a lot more experience than a lot of people do when they start out. This is my first business on one of my first core businesses. When I started business, I had no idea what, I just knew my task. Like you said, I knew my skill, and that was it. And so we make crazy mistakes, but you started with experience, which was amazing because now you're able to learn lessons a lot more fluidly. But you dropped a little gem in there that I don't even realize if you realized it. And I want to just chat about it for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You talked about, and I wrote it down. You saw my eyes starting. I called it the prospect process. You talked about in 30 seconds a whole cycle about how to grow your business. Did you realize you did that for me?
Sure.
You did.
No, I did. I honestly, because I understand coming from a multi-billion-dollar company that was in sales. I taught sales process. Well, it was one of my jobs was being a senior manager in training and development, and I brought the sales process to a company that didn't have a formal sales process. They had one that did work, but they didn't have a formal sales process. And it's not about a process. It's not about technique or gimmicks. It needs to be part of the DNA of the company, that the language that you speak, no matter where you are, is the same between the salespeople and their customers, between the folks that are in marketing and the folks that are in leadership, and the managers. And if that language is different, you've got a Tower of Babel, and you don't really affect any change. You don't see growth. You don't see what you expect. And part of that is because success comes from three things. You have to have attitude. You have to have that attitude of success, right? You got to have the knowledge, the knowing what to do. Okay. So that knowledge is really important. And you have to have the behavior. So the knowledge, behaviors, the techniques are so important, but if you don't align yourself with that attitude, and attitude is the culture of a business. And, culture in business is about the brand, but branding is not, it's not this. That's a logo. That's not a brand. A brand is your why. And everybody that you bring in, I see my wife is working right now, and she's interviewing people, and I ask her all the time, so this person's really talented, but will they be a good fit for your culture? And it's amazing what happens. You see the change in the way she's looking at it and seeing it. And she goes, yeah, I'm not. I just said, you know what, just why don't you interview somebody else? And all of a sudden now she'll interview 2 or 3 more people, and she sees it. She didn't see it initially because it's her expectation. She wants this person to have that square peg fit in a round hole.
Doesn't work that way.
They're out there. There's so many people out there that are worthy of working for your company. But boy, I've hired people who I was expectations that somebody else, another manager was, vying for this person. And I hired this one person, and 8 months later, it was gut wrenching. And I had to let her go because she just she couldn't do what she needed to do. She was not aligned with the values and principles of the company. And it was a great lesson to learn, but a hard way of learning.
Yeah. It's
not going to happen again.
That's a nice lesson you share with us. You drop a lot of gems. I don't know if you realize that. You just said that. I like those 3 things that are important to be successful: attitude, knowledge, and behavior. I love it. I mean, when we think about what it takes to be successful, there's all these different qualities that we incorporate. But when we boil it down, they're very, they're just a certain set that you need, perhaps. Let me ask you this, because I'm talking too much. What do you think is the single biggest quality needed to be successful?
Grit. Grit. Grit.
4 letters.
Is it's part of grit is optimism, right? So I've been doing a lot of research on this, and grit, resilience. It's about realizing that you're not in this for the sprint, you're in this for the marathon. That no matter, it's not a straight line. Success is not a straight line. It's all over the place. And you just have to push through, and you don't give up day in, day out, month in, month out, quarter in, quarter out, year in, year out. And you keep learning and you keep pivoting until you find the recipe. It's a recipe. It's like making my son is like, oh, this meal you made tasted terrible last night. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I followed your recipe. And he's like, no. And he came home and he fixed the recipe. And I was like, oh, that tastes so much better. It wasn't me, it was the recipe. Like he knew what to do. So it's about it. And I use that approach with helping people change also. It's about behavior. The behavior of change is not about, whether you're good or bad, or whether you're not worthy, which a lot of people have shame about changing. They think they're not worthy, or they're shameful for the mistakes they made. But to me, you just have to have courage to push through, and you have to offload the fear and upload goals, because that's when the real transformation happens. Because you work through your fear with courage, and when you realize what you're fearful of is the unknown, so then you get into the learning zone. If you work past the fear and outside that comfort zone, you get into the knowledge zone, the learning zone, and you start learning. And as you learn, then you start seeing, wow, this is where the magic happens. Okay, this is where the growth zone is. That's outside of that. So, and that's part of what I used to do as a manager and a leader. I would take my teammates through that so that they could be successful. And I do the same thing with my customers, my clients, and myself. I live, eat, and breathe it too.
Nice. Where do I find the book that you wrote?
I'm writing the book now. I did write a book in the past, but it was, I'm writing it now because it was from 20 years ago.
Okay, I was being facetious, but I'm like listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, if Evan writes a book, I need to buy it. I'm serious.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate that, because you know what? You never know who it's going to resonate with. But if you do want to read a little piece of me every day, I write almost every day on LinkedIn, and I post videos at least once a week so that people can get a dose of Evan, or a dose of ProAttitudes.
I did my little bookkeeping, and I asked, website. But now that you mentioned it, on LinkedIn, how would we find you? Best way?
Just put my name in, Evan Mestman, EVAN MESTMAN.
Beautiful.
And I have my name on the URL of the LinkedIn, but I've had that account for a while, and it's growing. Just like me, follow me, and you'll get a dose. Or on my website, you can click on my website and ask for a weekly. I do my blogs and also my weekly dose of optimism.
Awesome. Beautiful. I mean, yeah, I'm listening to you and saying, man, if he had a book. So if you see the name Marc Adams pops up on your next,
you'll get a signed copy. You got my first copy.
I'm excited. So you've given us so much already, but I'm going to actually ask for a little bit more, if that's okay. What advice would you give to a brand new business owner?
I think that somebody who's been through this now, I'd say that ideas are great, but write it down. That the magic happened for me, even with this business, even though I had all this experience, when I got through my proof of concept, and I said, okay, I got this, I got customers and I'm working on it. I sat down and I said, okay, let me plan out for 2021 and then 2020 up to 2025. And an amazing thing happened. It's like the ceiling broke. And I went, wow, I had no idea if I scale this, what's going to happen with this. And that's when the magic really started to happen for me. So I would tell people also, if you really want to be successful and you're new at this, every successful person that I know of in business has a coach. Do not be afraid to go get a coach, or at
Wow.
least to go out and find mentors, because that's what I did. I was a mentor. I was an adjunct professor for 10 years in Long Island University and Stony Brook and Suffolk County Community College. And I used to teach nutrition and human disease and nutrition and performance, but I was a preceptor for students. I didn't get any, actually, I didn't even realize I was getting credit for it, and I never used it for the college to take continuing education courses. I just love teaching and mentoring. And I would have these students come, and they'd come and learn what private practice was and counseling and being a nutrition entrepreneur. And that led me, that giving, always paying it forward, to an opportunity where I was a postgraduate teacher. I taught postgraduate nutrition entrepreneurism. Give it out, bring value. Don't ask for anything in return, and it will come back to you tenfold. So those are my words of wisdom for new business owners. Don't be afraid, and please network. Networking is such a big part of understanding where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. Learn from experience from other people. Everybody loves to help.
That's beautiful. And I like that. Thank you so much. I want to just take a couple of seconds, because you answered everything so beautifully, to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because you gave us a lot of valuable gems. And I know that if someone takes the time to listen to the podcast, the interview, they're going to get something out of it. Most of the times I do these, folks give us valuable information, and you're no different. So thank you so much, Evan, for your time today. And we look forward to continuing to see your successful journey.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate this. This was a lot of fun, and with gratitude. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you.